Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is Ship Updates. Now, I had hoped that by the time I was recording this video that there would be a live version of the 2.6 client, but unfortunately there was not. I did, however, download a test version, and even though I'm not really someone who enjoys playing on the PTU at all, because of the glitches, I decided to try it out to get some footage at least of the Caterpillar and kind of maybe do a walkthrough, and that would be the last ship updates for this year until next year. But unfortunately, as you can see, there were a lot of glitches still in the PTU client, and so I tried to cobble together as much footage as I could that worked, and in between this, the glitches and the crashes, it was really difficult for me at least, to get anything functional to really kind of explore the ship. And this footage is from, oddly enough, when I first came in and looked at the ship, and I was more or less just kind of running around and exploring the ship. But in subsequent tries, I tried to do the Herald as well, but there the turret glitched out on me, so I kind of cut that out. And then I kind of ran up to the bridge to kind of check that out a little bit, and pretty much as soon as I took off with the ship, the game crashed on me again. So yeah, it was problematic to say the least, but it was the PTU client, so it wasn't entirely unexpected. Now, yeah, I really hoped for a live version before I made this video, but it wasn't going to happen. And honestly, by the time you guys are seeing this video, I'll probably be somewhere over North or South Dakota heading west. And so, yeah, I won't be here by the time a live client comes out, if it does come out indeed this Friday. So I figured I would kind of go ahead and kind of present the footage that I did manage to get, and just talk about it a little, and talk about more or less the state of the game, and maybe look at what's happened over the last year and what we have to look forward to in the new year, which is obviously hopefully 2.6, but beyond that, 3.0 now. At the beginning of last year, of course, we had gotten the 2.0 client, and we had gotten it in a very, rough state prior to Christmas, and then we got a much more polished version, I think about a month later, once, everyone had come back from holidays. And we had already started to hear rumblings in, from the developers about they were flight testing the Javelin, they were flight testing the Idris. And so a debate kind of started on the forums. Well, if Squadron 42 doesn't indeed come out in 2016, then does that mean we're going to get the Javelin and the Idris in the PTU, or in the baby PU? But of course, Squadron 42 never materialized, so we never got those ships, and the most we've really seen of them is a few exterior shots and a few interior shots, because a lot of the Squadron 42 stuff is still kept very tightly under wraps. And I think that has kind of caused a bit of a rough spot with the community, because there's always been this sort of this feeling that the game isn't progressing as quickly as people wanted it to. I just crashed there when I was trying to adjust the speed, and here I am trying to get into the ship again. It was a bit of an adventure. But anyways, yeah, so there's people who feel that there's not enough progress being made, or that things are too slow. But one of the things that I've always heard, and this is from people I've spoken to who have visited Manchester, or people who have actually visited at the time Santa Monica, or wherever they are now in LA, and have sent me messages either through the forums or a couple over Twitter, who have kind of hinted at things that they saw while they were there, and so on and so forth, while still trying to, I guess, loosely adhere to the NDA. And one of the common threads through all of those interactions has been that CIG has always been further along than they've let on, but it appears that a lot of that stuff has to do with Squadron 42, of course, Squadron 42 being the main focus going forward, and then Star Citizen to be delivered after the first chapter of Squadron 42. And so, we know that a lot of the functional elements from Squadron 42 are going to go right into the baby PU. I mean, we got a letter from Chris Roberts right before the holiday live stream that more or less indicated that 3.0 contained a lot of the framework that would allow Squadron 42 to move forward, and that they weren't really ready to show us what they did have of Squadron 42 because there's still some elements that they could kind of, I guess they were saying, or he was saying, that they could kind of cheese it a little bit to get it to work for a demo, but then they would just have to go back and redo that work again to make it work in the final version. So I guess they kind of stepped away from that and said no. And I'm not altogether, against that, the wasted effort. Here I was checking out the, that loading elevator. I couldn't figure out how to get it to load downwards though. So I'm not sure if that functional element is in the game yet, but I was just trying to see if you could possibly, get a rover in here, obviously, and kind of lower it down if there was enough space, but it doesn't appear that there's enough on the ramp, so who knows, but that's something to be experimented with in the future. But yeah, so Squadron 42 and 3.0 kind of being linked, and them not wanting to basically cheese Squadron 42 to make it work just so they can put out a demo. I can kind of understand that. I was disappointed that we didn't see anything from Squadron 42, but going back to they're always a little further ahead than they let on. A lot of the work that we're not seeing, a lot of the stuff that would kind of calm the community or calm certain elements of the community down, are things that are hidden behind the Squadron 42 wall, which is it is what it is. The secrecy, they kind of want to keep everything so, hidden away so that when you are playing Squadron 42, you're going to have a whole lot of ooh and ah moments. And that's why, we see little snippets of the updated Bengal carrier. We see little snippets of the exterior of the Javelin or the Idris and some little shots of the interior, but we never really see the full finished state of things. And so there's a lot of stuff that is actually done that looks really cool that we're just not seeing because they want to kind of hold it back and kind of keep it as a bit of a surprise. And I think that, I don't know, for me, my opinion on that is that, screenshots and little walkthrough videos aren't going to give away the story. And I think maybe being a little bit forward, sharing some of those things would probably be better overall than just kind of hiding it all and just saying, wait till you see it, wait till you see it. And I think that that's where a bit of this kind of this attitude within the community of, like, we want to see it, why don't we get to see it? I think this is where a little bit of that conflict kind of arises from. It's that sort of, for the developers, they get to see this stuff. They get to see it every day, and they're like, oh my God, wait till you see this, wait till you see that. It's so great. And I think that maybe they lack the perspective of, basically, being on the receiving end of the message that they choose to deliver, and maybe not being able to see all the things that, we don't get to see. And if they were perhaps in our position, they might appreciate more wanting to see this stuff and not being so kind of closed off from it. Here I am taking off with the front bay doors still open. But yeah, I mean, that's my opinion on it, and of course that's up for debate. Anyone can voice an opinion on that subject matter, but I kind of feel that overall, if they were a little bit more forward with a lot of that stuff, then I think people would be a little bit calmer as to the state of the game and how things are moving forward, and I think people would be a lot more reassured as to where we are if they were a little bit, if they shared a little bit more with us. Now, of course, there is some more stuff behind that subscriber paywall, but realistically, it is not all that much more than what you're seeing. And I mean, it's, for like the Polaris, we got to see alternate versions of the Polaris, and maybe I'll sneak some of that in a future video. But it's, there's nothing out there behind the subscriber paywall that's really kind of all that remarkable. And I know that there's a lot of stuff that's kind of hidden away that we don't get to see that would probably allay a lot of the concerns in the community if they shared a little bit more with us. But, once again, that's not up to us. That's up to them. But with 3.0 going forward, obviously being linked to Squadron 42, I think we're going to start to really see some really great stuff once we get 3.0. But for right now, things are going to be, things are going to be slow going until we get to that stage where we have 3.0. And I think it's going to be a while before we get our hands on it. I would say June-ish, maybe, because there is so much that's going to be coming in with that patch. I mean, you've seen how long it took to get 2.6 done. And realistically, 2.6 compared to what 3.0 was going to add didn't add all that much. So I would be shocked if we got it before June. Hopeful that we would, but I would still be shocked if we did. And I'm not saying that, to be a dick. I'm just saying, look at the size of the task at hand and be realistic in how long you think it's going to take them to get it done. But overall, I mean, I'm not disappointed, because walking through this ship and seeing the care and the level of detail that's been put into it was really, really cool. Definitely glad I own this over the Starfarer. I mean, I was a little bit jelly when the Starfarer came out and I didn't own one, and other people were, running around in it. But quickly, when I got to play on other people's Starfarers, I wasn't too keen on the interior. I felt that the interior was kind of built like a little bit of an FPS maze, and so I wasn't really all that hopeful about it. But to me, the Caterpillar is a much more logically laid out ship. It's much more like a traditional cargo ship. Of course, it is, at least in this configuration with these modules attached. So, I mean, the layout makes a lot more sense, and I kind of wanted to, obviously, I wanted to play around with it some more, but, with all the crashes going on, it just really wasn't going to work out for me. And, I still have, this whole week leading up to Christmas is obviously a very busy week, so I didn't have as much time as I wanted to. And, of course, every day there was a new PTU client, which is another 30 gigs to download, and then hopefully get some footage from it, which I had better things to do this week. I haven't even seen Rogue One yet at this point because I've just been so busy. So hopefully in the next week I'll get to do some stuff, and hopefully when 2.6 does come out, I still have enough time when I get back to go out and do the Pirate Swarm thing so I can get the Outlaw skin for the Caterpillar. But overall, even though 2016 wasn't as big a year as I had hoped it would be, I mean, obviously having Squadron 42 done and out of the way would have made Star Citizen move along that much faster once all those resources were now retasked to just finishing Star Citizen. That would have been amazing. But I mean, realistically at this point, if you're a backer and you've been a backer for any amount of time, you know how this works, and you know that when CIG sets a release date, or sets a release goal, shall we say, generally you can add 6-ish months onto that. I mean, it was the same when we transitioned from the Hangar module to basically Arena Commander. You remember? Like, we thought we were going to get Arena Commander at the end of 2013, and then it wasn't until June that we actually got Arena Commander, and it's kind of followed that pattern ever since. So hopefully very soon we'll start to see some real big leaps forward, but still the progress that we are getting and the things that we are seeing are pretty damn cool looking. And hopefully as things move further and further ahead, a lot of these bugs will get ironed out and we won't see them repeating in every next, in every iteration and in every patch, and things will just get better over time. Anyways, that's the final ship updates for 2016. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.